Biden administration to forgive $1.2 billion in student debt for over 150,000 borrowers. Luckily for you, the internet sleuth that I am had the time this morning to research it, and the cumulative total right now is $138 billion of student debt forgiven for over 4 million borrowers. Clearly, this is just buying votes, which is a thing that we're seeing the Biden administration do, and I'm sure many other administrations have done it. On this particular one, I'm not exactly picking on him, saying he's the only one who's done it. I'm sure anyone who's trying to get into power or retain power has done this type of a thing. But yeah, that's all it is the thought is if I use everyone's money to pay off student debt, then those people will vote for me and I'll retain power. Like, the fact that other people are clearly not seeing what's going on here, it's a farce. It's not as if he thinks this is the major thorn in the side of the economy, and as if we got rid of student debt, everything would be fine. No, why is student debt worse than something like medical debt? Why are we incentivizing people going to college and university in the US, where a lot of the times your pay will never get you out from that debt burden? Why are we not incentivizing vo-tech schools? Why are we not incentivizing entrepreneurship? The answer to all of that is, they just want to buy votes. And unfortunately, I think it actually gets considerably worse.
Biden I think is done. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the country.
It is very embarrassing.
As a presidential candidate, let alone the president of the country. It's crazy. And it's just going to get worse and worse. And he should, the worst of his legacy is his ego that prevents him from stepping aside. And that's it. It's his ego.
To be fair, though, to be any president ever, I bet they have a massive ego.
You talk to people. I was in Europe. I was in London a few days ago, and people are like, Bill, how can this guy be a president? And it's a bit like, again, I go back to my business analogy. Being a CEO is like a full contact sport. Being president of the United States is like some combination of wrestling, marathon running, being a triathlete. I mean, you got to be a serious physical shape and at the top of your game to represent this country. And he is a far cry from that, and it's just getting worse, and it's embarrassing. And he cannot be. And by the way, every day he waits, he's handing the election to Trump, because it's harder and harder for an alternative candidate to surface. Now, Dean is the only candidate left on the Democratic side that can still win delegates. He's on the ballot in 42 states. And
I think
the
Dean
best
had
way
a
for
decent
Biden to step
showing
aside
in New Hampshire,
is for Dean to show
say.
well in Michigan.
And so you think there is a path with the delegates and all that kind of stuff?
100%. So if what has to happen is, New Hampshire, he went from 0 to 20% of the vote and 10 weeks with no name recognition. I helped a little bit. Elon helped. We did a spaces for him. We had 350,000 people on the spaces. Some originally 40,000 live or something, and then the rest after. And then he was on the ground in New Hampshire. And New Hampshire is one of the states where you don't need to be registered to a party to vote for that candidate. So it's like jump ball. And he got 20%. And that's with a lot of independents and Democrats voting for Haley. Haley, who I like and who I supported, does not look like she's going to make it. Trump is really kind of running the table. And so
without a doubt,
vote for Haley.
He's steamrolling her.
As an independent in Michigan, maybe throw away your vote. I think it increases the likelihood that Dean can get those independent votes. If he could theoretically, again, he needs money. He could beat Biden in Michigan. Biden's doing very poorly in Michigan. His polls are terrible. The Muslim community is not happy with him. I
didn't know that Michigan had such a high density of a Muslim community.
Withdrawing, then Dean will get funding. If he wins Michigan or shows well in Michigan, and people say he's viable, he's the only choice we have, he'll attract from the center, he'll attract from people, Republicans who won't vote for Trump, of which they're a big percentage, could be 60% or more. It could be 70% won't vote for Trump. And also from the Democrats. So I think he's a really interesting candidate, but we got to get the word out.
In all reality, I don't know much about Dean. I should probably look more into him. I was more focused on the interesting comments of right now, if you are a Democratic liberal Biden supporter, you should be hoping that he steps down sooner rather than later. He's not going to win this. Now, if you are a Trump Republican conservative voter, you would actually want Biden theoretically to stay in as long as he can now, because it'll stop any other person on the Democratic side from developing the momentum they would need to beat Trump out in an election. So we've gotten ourselves into an interesting situation. Obviously, this is now in February of 24, so we don't have that many months to go, but it's going to get a little bit tense. Now, on that note, I want to talk about like maybe a sub issue of the whole country, and it just happens to be my neck of the woods, New York City. Kind of some funny things going on. So let's start off with this. A New Yorker spots former New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio and trolls him.
Hey. Hey. How's it going, man? Thanks for fucking up the city. Have a nice day, buddy. Yeah, asshole.
Classic New York, but on more of a serious note, Idiocracy was a documentary. Up to $10,000 for each illegal alien in New York. No ID check, no restrictions, no fraud control. Every American should be outraged by this. That's fair. I mean, I don't know, outraged. It's just completely illogical. So we covered this news when it was first coming out, but the new mayor of New York, Adams, he basically said, okay, I'm going to earmark over $50 million, and you just come up, you get it. Obviously, no ID check, no restrictions. You have to sign a thing saying, oh, yeah, no, I promise to not spend money on other things. But there's no checking of it. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing ever. And I guess they argue that it's somehow cheaper, but someone would have to explain that basic math to me. But what's kind of interesting is when you dive into it, like, okay, like, why is this craziness actually happening? You gotta watch this. Wild.
Here is the Row Hotel. This is one of the 5 hotels that has been transformed into a shelter. So we're gonna walk in there and see what kind of operation they're running inside. This is a really nice hotel. How's it going?
How can I help you with?
Oh yeah, we were just checking out the hotel.
Oh, the hotel is closed, I'm sorry.
It's closed? But there's a ton of people in here right now.
Because it's a shelter now.
Oh, you guys,
Hotel.
it's shelter for the migrants coming in?
Yeah, it's no longer open to the public. It's closed to the public.
How many floors is it? 30 floors. This thing is...
Yeah.
You guys aren't allowed to talk about it? Why is it like such a big secret, do you think?
I don't know. We just follow orders.
When hotels such as the Row Hotel close until further notice, they sign a contract with an outside source saying that they will pay the rent in order for them to house the migrants. And the hotels love it because it is guaranteed money every single night. And at a rate of $200 per night at the Row Hotel, and with 1,331 rooms, that is $260,000 a day, $1.8 million a week, and $7.2 million a month. And all that money is guaranteed.
This is a post from Marty Bent just to wrap this part of it up. I think it's time to have a serious conversation about whether or not the people controlling Biden are employing a Cloward Piven strategy against the country. I hope I'm pronouncing those names right, but right here, this is no surprise to anyone. Illegal crossings of the Southwest land border monthly. We can see when Biden got in, it just absolutely shot up. A lot of people are just saying, oh no, this is definitely just a way to get votes. But check this out. I have not heard of this before. I believe it's pronounced Cloward Piven. Cloward Piven. The Cloward Piven strategy is a political strategy outlined in 1966 by American sociologists and political activists Cloward and Fox Piven. It is a strategy of forcing political change leading to societal collapse through orchestrated crises. The Cloward-Piven strategy seeks to hasten the fall of capitalism by overloading the government bureaucracy with a flood of impossible demands, amassing massive unpayable national debt, and other methods such as unfettered immigrants, thus pushing society into crisis and economic collapse by overwhelming the U.S. Is it what's happening? I have no idea, but this was outlined in 1966, and if you can't see the correlations, you gotta open your eyes. Now, obviously, just as a person in this country, I don't want it to be true. That would be crazy for me to be like, oh yeah, this is totally what I want to be going on. I'm just saying sometimes the negative thing is actually what's happening. So very much don't want this to be occurring. I just wanted to share it with you. Kind of crazy. It was outlined in 1966, has a lot of similarities. And before this moment, before this day, I had never heard of it before. So I just want to share it, obviously using a little bit of New York as an example, but on the larger scale, this is This is crazy. This is crazy what's going on. I'm not necessarily sure if I have bought into this idea of like some maestro behind the curtains controlling it all. I think what this is in individual veins. We have people who are either money hungry, power hungry, or hungry for the two. And their greed and immorality has these side effects that are now permeating throughout our country, our society, our political discourse. I don't think there's a big maestro that like can see this far into the future and is this tactically sound. I think, like I said, there's individual veins where people are greedy, immoral, and they just do what they want to do to get more power, to get more money. And then we're unfortunately just seeing the side effects, and it's impacting everyday life.